Yo, what's going on, guys? Today, we'll be going over my day 3 CRL games. So at this point, I was in the top 8 and trying to battle for number 1. Day 3 was the final day, where everything would come to a close. I decided to go for Pekka game 1. I was up against Furkin in my first duel. You guys may have noticed that I've been playing Pekka game 1 a lot. You might think it's extremely obvious, but the thing is it's so obvious that my opponent usually doesn't expect it because they don't think I'd be so obvious, so it ends up usually working out quite well. When I saw the Tesla Phoenix, I knew it could be maybe Graveyard, but as I saw the Monk, I knew it had to be RG. Got a very good Pekka. I really don't agree with that Monk by him. He spent the Fireball, so I knew he had to be pretty low Elixir. I decided to go in for the Ram Rider because he had no Tesla in Cycle, so I knew it could definitely cause him some issues. Got a super well-timed Zap on the Fisherman, allowing our Ram Rider to get some very important damage. Normally this Pekka deck does counter RG, but since he had the Tesla too, I was thinking it could be a lot harder. He got the RG off. I had a really bad cycle. I knew I'd have to take quite a bit of damage. But surprisingly, my troops actually defended super well. That could have been a lot worse than it was. I don't even think he had to play the Ghost on the Knight, to be honest, but I was fine that he did. Had to just waste our little Prince to tank for it. I think I may have went for the ability. Yeah, because he didn't really have a great cycle. He had no Ghost, no Bar Barrel, no nothing really for it. So we actually got just a little bit of Guardian damage. That was a really good ability, just knowing his cycle was so bad. He went for the aggressive Fisherman. Don't really know if I agree with that Fisherman. It did force out some Elixir from me, but wasn't the best play ever, I feel like. I knew the Baby Dragon would get one splash if he didn't respond to it. Yeah, which wasn't too bad for me. I played the Pekka right into the Monk. I feel like the Monk by him right there was quite bad. And guys, I really wanted to beat Furkin because I knew that if I beat Furkin and a couple other people, I could have a rematch with Riley in this tournament. I had my Evo Knight. He got kind of a late Monk ability right there, so I was feeling really good at this point. I had a whole Evo Knight Pekka push. Evo Knight just tanks for ages for anything, so I knew that he might have a quite difficult time. And here I just got the best Evo Zap of my life. Honestly, he just really misplayed. I feel like mainly the Monk was just a horrible play to play in the back straight into a Pekka. I mean, knowing that I had Pekka in cycle, I don't know why he did that. And I was just spamming the bridge. I had Riley on call as well. We were just both on call during each other's matches, kind of helping each other out a little bit. Yeah, everything just came down on the tower, and I got the easiest win of my life. So I was up 1-0. For game 2, we decided to go for the Hog Barbs deck that I ran against Muhammad Light. The reason why is because we were expecting him to run Giant Beatdown or something similar to that, which this deck can counter pretty nicely. Just went for the Hog Rider. The thing about this deck is that it is very good at countering Beatdown, but it does have a very slow cycle and stuff, so sometimes you can get in a bit of trouble if you're not aggressive enough. And you don't get enough damage in single Elixir. When I saw the little Prince and everything, I was thinking it would be some Giant deck, and yeah, he played the Giant at the bridge and a Graveyard. But here's where he messed up. He didn't realize I had Goblins and Barbs. See, I don't know what this man was doing. One of the most ridiculous plays I've ever seen. To just go Giant Graveyard, pretty much first play in CRL. What are you doing, buddy? Dude, my Barbs just surrounded the bowler somehow. Got a really nice Firecracker off right there, and I spammed the Hog Rider too. I knew he had no Elixir. And I just knew it was pretty much over at this point, but I didn't want to let my guard down by any means. Yeah, I mean, well, if it isn't the consequences of his own actions going for Giant Graveyard first play. For no reason. And I think he later said in a chat that he was saying, like, why would I have Barbs and Goblins in one deck? It's because I knew he would play some Giant deck like this. I thought he'd have Giant Lightning, but still, Barbs do really well in this matchup too. I mean, the better question is, why would you Giant Graveyard pretty much first play in CRL? I think that's a better question that he should have been asking, to be honest. So yeah, he knew it was pretty difficult for him at this point because Inferno Tower is also quite good. He obviously had Zap and Bats to distract, but I still knew that I'd have a pretty solid defense. Yeah, he couldn't really kill the Evo Firecracker either without just overspending so much. I knew this Hog Rider would get one hit unless he went for a lot of Elixir on it. And he just gave me the tower, so I knew he'd make probably one more big push that I'd have to defend it, and that would pretty much be it for the game. I was like 99% sure I'd win at this point, but I just didn't want to accidentally mess up something. Ice Golem actually hit all of the bats, so they died pretty quickly to my stuff. Yeah, honestly, such a good pick by my coach, and I just played the match super well. Furkin, I mean, what can I say? What can I say? He did well overall in the competition, and yeah, that pretty much sealed the deal. I won the duel 2-0. Next up, I had to get through EGW. This guy is known for running just a bunch of toxic decks, really just any type of toxic beatdown deck like Golem, Giant, just whatever random thing you might think of. Got a very nice Bomber Splash early on. I wasn't really sure what deck he was playing. Got a very nice King Tower activation. I noticed quite a few players were missing their King Tower activations in this competition. You might think it's very easy, but when you're under so much pressure, it's very easy to just misplace something by one tile and completely mess up. I went for the drill all the way in the back, then I saw the piggies, and I knew he'd probably have Giant Skeleton Royal Hogs, which I thought would be maybe a good matchup. Not too good though, since he had the Ghost, but definitely beatable, and also I knew the King Tower could help out quite a bit too. The thing about this guy though is that even though I knew I could outskill him, he's a very unpredictable player. He plays the most random decks, and you might think that would be a disadvantage since he doesn't always abuse the most broken meta things, but it can be really tough sometimes. You just have no idea what to expect, and he can end up countering you, or he can end up just surprising you. Sometimes even if you do counter him, he just completely surprises you and he ends up destroying you. Either way. Happened to a lot of good players recently. He's been doing really well in the recent competitions, it seems like. Got a pretty good little Prince ability here. Forced out his Ghost. I think I did go in for the drill. Yeah. Wasn't really sure what I was hoping for here. But at this point, I knew the Ghost would go back, so I went for the very aggressive Evo Bomber, which was really good for me. But then I saw the Mega Knight. I did not expect that. And my Evo Skelly's just choked completely. Evo Skelly's somehow just completely choked. And I already knew I lost at this point. I knew for sure that I just would not have any chance. Ghost also splashed the tower. Pretty much everything that went wrong could have went... No, everything that could have went wrong did go wrong right there. I wasn't completely out of it yet, though. I didn't want to even waste the Tesla here, I think. On second thought, I probably should have played the Tesla, but I wasn't sure that he would Skeleton Dragon, so it could have been a little bit risky. I could have played a Tesla late here, but I just wanted to go with my other cards instead. Honestly, had some pretty solid defense, I feel like. He played another set of piggies, but I just went for the Evo Skellies this time, and I think I was able to defend pretty well. Yeah, then I saw the Earthquake, and I just knew this would be a very difficult matchup. The thing about it is that my Goblin Drill deck had no tank in it. It had no Knight, no Mighty Mine, or anything like that, which really made the matchup quite a bit more difficult for me. And on top of that, the Earthquake just ruined any chance of me Tesla spamming in this matchup. You can always go for the Teslas up high to avoid the Earthquakes, but he had so many different cards to take out a high Tesla, like the Ghost, Skeleton Dragons, you name it. Went for the aggressive Evo Bomber. I just knew I needed some damage. Still went for the high Tesla, but I knew he'd probably kill it. Got a very good double bounce. And I got quite a nice poison right there. Honestly, was playing quite well at this point. It's very difficult to play perfect, though, against a crazy deck like his. You're kind of bound to make some small micro misplays. Went for the low Tesla here. I knew the piggies would pretty much die even if he decided to Earthquake or anything like that. But you can see I was really just struggling without a tank in my deck. He had pretty bad goblins there, pretty bad pressure overall, to be honest. And I went for the very aggressive Evo Bomber. I was hoping it would line up on the tower. And it actually did reach. I got one very nice bounce right there. I was honestly outplaying him quite a bit at this point. I went for the low Tesla. I knew he had Earthquake, but I was just thinking maybe I can force out the first Earthquake and then potentially get to his second Tesla. But it was quite a risky play to try. Went for the little Prince ability. Evo Skellies were just going kind of crazy. I knew he had the Evo Firecracker. I thought he wouldn't play it right into the log, but he ended up doing that for some reason. And Firecracker didn't die, so actually it allowed my Bomber to get one bounce on the tower. But look how low my tower got just off that Firecracker. Had to do a high Tesla. Maybe I could have played it low. Yeah, but honestly, it was just not an easy matchup. And I will give it to him. He had a very good surprise factor with his deck, so ended up going down 0-1 against EGW to start. After that, it was basically do or die. If I lost one more game against EGW, I would lose the entire set and be out of the tournament. I decided to play EGiant Mortar. Well, actually my coach decided for me to play this deck. Shout out to my coach. I'll probably put his Twitter on screen for a second so you guys can go follow him. So yeah, once I saw the Giant Skelly, I decided to play the EGiant in the back. The reason I picked EGiant, or that we picked EGiant, is because it's a very safe deck. Our thing against this guy is that we just love to be safe because he can play any type of weird decks. We just have to make sure we have a deck that we could maybe outplay a little bit and just be relatively safe against the type of beatdown decks that he normally tries to run. He went for the RG. I wasn't feeling too good here because EGiant does normally beat RG, but that's if they don't have Giant Skeleton. Giant Skeleton is just a lifesaver for them in this type of matchup. And also the Mortar for us is a lot worse than, say, a Cannon or a Goblin Cage in this EGiant deck. So I knew this matchup would be quite difficult. Luckily, single Elixir was going pretty calmly for me, so that was a good thing. Double Elixir is probably a bit better for EGiant, I would say, than single Elixir. And here I wasn't really sure what spell he had in his deck. I knew he could either have Fireball, Lightning, Earthquake. Well, he wasted Earthquake in the first game, but I knew he could either have Fireball or Lightning. I was hoping Fireball because Fireball doesn't really do too much against most of our troops, but I was also thinking he could definitely have a Lightning in there. I thought he might RG, so I was almost thinking of pre-mortaring, but just decided to wait to be safe. Could have went for the pre-mortar, but wasn't a bad play to wait a bit. Had to go for the Evo Knight too. I was thinking I may have to Tornado. And yeah, he showed the Lightning there, so I had to go for the Nado. And yeah, I just knew this matchup would be really difficult to win. The thing about it is I feel like with EGiant, if you have something like an Evo Bomber in the deck, you can get very easy lineups off of the Giant Skeletons they play, but I wasted Evo Bomber in my Game 1 deck, so I actually had no great way to just get on the tower like that. Of course, Bowler is pretty good too, but I feel like Giant Skeleton is so nice versus Bowler. It doesn't get knocked back by it, and it kind of just blocks up the lane completely. Yeah, I knew he had the Evo Bomber. Luckily, I was really quick with my Bowler right there. Got a beautiful Bowler off it. That Bomber just got kind of pushed around a little bit. But you can see how tough the Lightning is for us. He doesn't even need a building or even a Fisherman half the time to defend the E-Giants. He just plays that Giant Skelly and another troop, and everything's pretty much dead. His Giant Skelly actually pushed the RG back a little bit, and Evo Mortar was very tanky, so didn't die to the Royal Giant. And here I just got the E-Giant off at that bridge because when I kept on going for the E-Giants in the back, he was always able to just stack up his stuff and defend easily. Got a very nice Lightning here. To be honest, on second thought, I feel like maybe I should have NATO'd the Fisherman to the opposite side instead of into the E-Giant, just so that my E-Giant could get a tiny bit more damage. I thought I would get a bit more damage than I did right there. But yeah, it's honestly so tough to tell exactly that while you're in the middle of the game. Normally I do NATO the Fisherman opposite lane, but sometimes you just need to react super quickly when you're not expecting something, and that's why I NATO'd the Fisherman straight into the E-Giant. I was still winning at this point, but I knew that if he just got a single RG shot, I couldn't really come back from that, so if I made a single misplay or give him one single good Lightning on my tower, that could be it for me. He had the Evo Bomber, which was a little bit scary. See, it was just very hard for me to build a push, but he was always seeming to get small counter pushes here, which was getting a little bit scary. I knew he might try to RG with this, but he actually decided to Giant Skeleton first. Had to just go for the Evo Knight. And you guys can see my Phoenix was quite nice in this matchup. Phoenix was quite nice for both me and him in this matchup. Got a pretty solid Tornado off. And we're just trying to stack up the lane. He kept on spamming the Giant Skellies at the bridge over and over. Had to E-Giant here. And I was thinking he might go for a low Fisherman that I could Lightning, but he ended up going for it up high, so I had to just go for a high Lightning. Not really sure if I should have went for that E-Giant, because I had no Tornado in cycle, so maybe I didn't have to, but I really thought he would go for the low Fisherman. He ended up getting one Bomber Splash, and at this point I was thinking, I don't know if there's really any way I can win this, because I don't really have time to build up an E-Giant push. Went for the Evo Mortar, was hoping to sneak in one lock, and I knew I had the Lightning cycle, otherwise I would just lose either way. I needed maybe one more Lightning to win the game, but I just couldn't stop the RG after cycling that Lightning. But if I didn't cycle the Lightning, I was going to lose either way, so yeah, unfortunately I ended up getting out, and I finished top 5 to 6 in the Cal Cup. Riley ended up winning the whole competition. Honestly, I'm really proud of how we did in this competition, both me and Riley. I'm really happy with how we've been doing recently. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye!